Welcome back to building a mountain base. So let's come inside and check it out. Alright, so we are on context number 3 to kind of walk through what we've done so far. And most of it, yes, it was just a bunch of drilling, but there is a bit of designing that happened inside as well. And it's continuing to do more designing eventually, as you see here. You see here, we do a little bit of cleanup right here. This doesn't belong here, but we eventually need to get all these kind of beams kind of lined up throughout here. And I think I'm going to use a projection or something like that to do that. So I'll probably cut half the wall out from the front and then up to here to maybe get those things all welded up, or put the beams together, because I don't feel like counting them and then welding them in that way. Or maybe I'll get to that a little bit later, but that part is not as interesting. But of course, we got up to this part here. So right here is where we decided to make a bit of a ramp design. Not the best, because when you drive a Rover here and you drive too fast, you will kind of fly over it, but it's been okay as long as you know where it is. Maybe we put some strips here to give somewhat warning, to say you're getting very close to it. But it extends the tunnel build a little bit out more, and I wanted to do that so I can get the garage bigger and everything like that, slightly bigger rooms eventually, because this wasn't as tall as I really wanted it to be. So in the inside, we just made it bigger. Eventually, once we get the inner piece of it okay, we're going to shrink it back down to this size and maybe drill down the hole to the other side of the mountain, basically. So this was a fun little aspect of it. Pretty much did double ramps right here, which the ramps equate to, if you wanted to build your own ramp, it's just this light armor tip thing and this light armor slope piece too, or it could be heavy, either one. So that's pretty much 4 of these things anyways, 2 of each. But you just use the regular ramp, same thing, no difference in that case. And we put on above, below, left and right. We use these kind of corner blocks to kind of give it out a little bit more design, and then we just flush it out right here. I mean, I wish I could square these off eventually and make it look nice, but I think the best way to kind of square it off is just to end it like this in some form or fashion. Not the best looking thing in the world, but it's the best I can do right this moment. But yeah, right, so for the most part, this garage door did explode. As you saw, I did kind of rebuild it off camera, and it's seeming to work okay. It's a bit wiggly, but it works fine. I'm not sure what just happened. We just spotted it just now, and I've been seeing this happen once in a while, and maybe it's a placement of a block or two, is that some of these blocks are being grinded down by my build and repair. Maybe they're misplaced, I don't know, and it's detecting it and trying to clean it up, potentially. But I've seen it happen with the tunnel itself, and now I'm seeing it with these 2 blocks here. So that was kind of interesting and weird, but I mean, it is what it is. It does fix itself. I mean, I just placed it down and fixed it, but maybe it's a bit of a glitch. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I'm not too sure. But here's the garage door. It opens a little bit quick, but I don't like the wiggling like this. It's a bit much. So I think if I control the hinges to a maximum degree angle, we should be okay, I believe. But it does wiggle a lot based on the current design. And yeah, we could have went with a more simplistic design instead of this garage design. I do like the garage design because of the way it folds down. I just don't like the exposed wheels. That's kind of, you know, house it a little bit, so it's a bit odd, but yeah. But yeah, this wiggling while it's going down is a bit scary. We need some wheels on the outer side to kind of make it come down and make it look a little bit better. But that's a little bit hard to achieve without it coming in the wrong, without having it come in the right or wrong way. And look, see, this is being grinded down again. What is going on? I'm not too sure what's going on with that. It just randomly decides to grind some things down. I might have one of the build-in repairs set on the wrong color, potentially. Maybe. Not even sure. I can be sure if it's this rover that has the build and repair. If it has to be a place, then this is doing it, but it's not. So yeah, that's fine. It's probably either the janitorial thing that's doing it from build and repair, or it's wrong grind color. Maybe one of them set as the white color that I'm using right now. Who knows? But it's working okay. I might change it up. Maybe to do more of a traditional door or hatch system, or like a a front yard garage type of thing or fence thing. That might work a little bit better than the shaky garage door, as you see here. So once again, not the best door design, but it's working out okay. And it looks like that's not connected. Okay, so lots of issues with this, so I likely will change it up. But that's our garage door. I wish I didn't blow up my surviving Europa build, so that I can check out the garage door that I built there. That's seeming to work okay and not too bad at all. But too bad. But another thing that differs from there is the gravity, I think. So that may have played a role in how come this one reacts a little bit more wiggly than the other one. So that could be it, but yeah, that's what I got from this so far. It needs to be fixed up because there needs to be some hinges on this side as well, so then it matches the other side to give it some more connection points and things like that. Because I did want to do what I did previously, and that was to add the plates to make it look a little bit cooler, but I can't do it no more based on the blocks I use, which is all these blast door edges and the blast doors itself, which is a lot of steel plates to hold the garage door. So that's the design. It looks okay. I really feel like I should change it up. Something a little more airtight, maybe. Although we don't need to do an airtight system, but maybe something airtight, I think. And it's going to be a really, really big garage system here. As you saw in the time lapse, we did quite the drilling in here to extend it all the way back here. So this is going to be a nice, big garage area for all transportation and things like that. Can we fit a large grid rover in here? Potentially, but first you got to make sure it gets through the door, which you might not even be able to if you build such a large rover to get into the front of the door, which that's a bit of a problem. But here we might have to do this a bit manual for the time being until we get a nice good projection going. And I like this area because it gave us a lot of room, and I put a whole bunch of build-in repairs right here, all linked up and everything, so we get enough space to do all that we need to do and weld it up as quickly as possible. And of course, it shows a little bit of a yellow light dancing sequence when we do the time lapse, which is pretty interesting and awesome. Alright, so yeah, this is gonna be a really big spot, so of course we need more rovers to fill up this garage initially. The next room is gonna be down here, where we could put our habitation, I think it's called, or hab room, or I'm just gonna call it a living room, where we're gonna have, couches, TV, kitchen, things like that. And then we're gonna make more room for like our battery room, our energy room, our cargo areas, things like that. So a whole bunch of rooms to make. Will it end up looking like an ant tunnel and everything like that? Potentially, but I feel like it's going to depend how I'm gonna do this, based on, do I make the rooms individually as I go straight down, or do I do a room and then a room within a room? So then that gets a little tricky, but for the most part, I just really want to drill through a mountain and build a little base inside. Or not a little base, a big base, so lots of things to fill in. Maybe I could do some kind of command center-ish like thing in here too, with some camera setups on the outside. Maybe do some drone setups too. That'll be fun. But in the case of having to fill up the garage, we need some rovers. And I kind of want to build a smaller rover just for transportation wise. This thing is pretty good as a rover for transport, but it is a bit heavy, especially when it's filled with stuff. Because this thing could carry a large amount of cargo space. Well, not large, but a decent amount. So it gets a little tricky driving this thing around, especially with that ramp system right over there. So maybe we can put together a quick little rover for the time being. And I think I have a decent idea of how I'm going to do this. Basically, one of the easiest way to build something from a large grid to a small grid is by using a connector. So I'm going to just do a connector here. And we're just going to do a small connector right here. And hopefully we don't kind of clang that up or mess it up and break it. So we just throw it right on top like so. Weld it up. And we can connect right into it. Hopefully the janitor thing doesn't get rid of it by the time I get this in. It looks like it's good to go. So we'll lock this up. And now we can just throw in our small grids. Right here. So I wish that didn't weld up, but it's fine. Not a big deal. So we can build out our little rover here. Ideally, the rover is going to have a connection point, whether it's a rotor to lock it into the wall or the station to get power. But your best bet is probably and likely going to be a connector. So I would technically just put a connector right over here first. And that's how we're going to power up the whole thing. So, and the next step is, of course, a battery. So the battery, whether you use the small one like this or a larger one like this one, would be ideal. Of course, I necessarily don't like to put a battery connected to a connector, because if you crash your connector to connect to a connector, if that's not too much of a tongue twister, you could potentially break the battery. But I'm going to try to keep this thing as small as possible. So let's put the battery, well, we could put the battery this way if we really wanted to, but let's just put it here anyways. Alright, so next part, of course, is a cockpit or a seat or something like that. So we can do a seat, we can do a, I'm not going to do a cockpit per se because it's a little bigger than I would like it to be. I mean, you could just add this here and put wheels on it and make it a rover. That looks interesting enough. You could also do a helm, but you need a platform at the bottom, so that's a possibility as well. So, you know, a lot of different things you can do in terms of this. One of the better looking ones is the fighter cockpit I like the most, but yeah. If you don't like the cockpits, I like the control seat the most. So you can easily put a control seat like this, right against the batteries. And of course, I like the buggy cockpits in the rover cockpit as well. The only thing about this is that it is only two small blocks wide, so that's where it's harder to build stuff on most of these grids or parts, because they're 3 blocks wide for the most part. You could do it in 2 block wide, but it's just going to be a little bit of a longer rover if that's the case. So I'm going to add the seat here and make it as tiny as possible. And of course, if we wanted to, we can add a gyro system as well. Alright, so to add a wheel, we can't add a wheel directly on the seat itself. As you see here, that's where the seat is not as handy. But of course, we can always add like plates and everything like that to get things going. So we could add the little plate right underneath it. And here we can add our blocks where necessary. So we can add a block like this. And, you know, kind of square it out this way. And also what I like to do in recent times is add the neon tubing, because these are fun little blocks to play around with as well for a rover. So for this one, we can do, I like these little round ones, it's pretty cool. But you can always use, I think, one of these tubes here, like so. So we can add one, not there, but maybe this one here, and then a tube, not the end, but a regular straight tube right here, and we'll just bring it out over there, and that just kind of makes it a little bit like what's it call it, a bit of a barrier or a holding piece, which is awesome to have. And here we just build it right into that. And of course, we could build a little bit higher if we wanted to. Didn't really make room for it to do it in this case, but we'll just leave it as that for now. And we just mimic the same thing over here. So we definitely should add one. Well, it would have looked a little bit better if I added one right over here as well. and kind of tie it in here. But unfortunately, well, we can do this. Let's just do that for fun. No reason at all to have something like that, but why not play around with it and use something different in a way. There you go. And it also gives a little bit of light as well. And here, which is a nice little spot, we can also add... So I was actually hoping we could add a tube here, but looks like we can't connect it that way, which is okay. Alright, so with that done, we can finally add... Do we want to add a little bit of floor on the bottom with the platform or plates? We could, to give it a little more security. We can definitely do that. And it's like not showing too much. And this is where we can pretty much add wheels if we wanted to. Yeah, so we can add the wheels here, and we could use different type of blocks for this just to kind of get a better kind of look and feel. So maybe these slope blocks here, and we can change this one into a half block or something like that, right? So we have a wheel up front here. We can even make the whole thing a lot longer if we wanted to, but we made it kind of short for now. It's okay. We'll see how this works. So this is the actually right side. So we'll do a 3x3 right and a 3x3 left right here. And there we go. We got a bit of a rover, a little wide, but should be okay. Maybe I should make it not as wide. So, I mean, what we can do is get rid of this and this one and this one. We'll just do a regular block here. And... Oop. Yeah, well, that's fine. Alright, so let's just do our left and our right, like this. So that one is not as wide as before, which might be a good idea. And then we could also add our wheel right here as well. So, towards the back. So same thing, we just do what? Right and left. And that's going to be as simple as it gets when it comes to rover system, right? So with that done, I think we can change this up a little bit if we wanted to, right? And I do want to. And I like to use these kind of slope in blocks and then eventually put in these half blocks, so it gives that extra design there. And the panels in the sides, we can leave that as panels. We could put them as half blocks. That works too. But at least we have a decent little rover here. Nothing too crazy. Nothing fast as well. And if we really need some lights, I like to add the offset spotlights here and the offset lights as well. So I like to put the spotlight in the front right here, and then usually I put the light in the back, and the best place for that is actually going to be where the wheels are. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm set. Man, I can leave it here to charge up, so we have some power. So if we look at the battery, we just do recharge. We can keep that recharging, but of course we have a connector, so we can always recharge from there as well. So that's the option for that. This is a very basic rover, and it's just gonna get me around the tunnel, so that's a bit easier in some ways. Although I have a jetpack, so I can just fly across, but it's a little dangerous because I'm gonna run into something and kill myself. So that's the biggest problem. But yeah, so if we have it charging, I'm not worried about charging right now. I can always charge it later because I do have the connector. But your other options could be a rotor, advanced rotor, regular rotor, so you can connect to the walls. If you put a bit of a small rotor or even a large grid rover. I mean, large grid rotor would work too, but it gets a little tricky. But yeah, I'm going to unhook this thing up, and I can leave this butt piece here. If not, I'm going to add the light. So that's going to be the offset light right here. So I can do it this way on the suspension to make it look better. And that's it. So the weight distribution on this is, as you can see, is going to be heavy on the back side. Which is fine, because if I had too much materials on me, then it might kind of balance out just a little bit. Not really. But yeah, adding that little round neon lights actually makes it look pretty decent. It's not too crazy. And this thing's gonna drive pretty nicely. So obviously we need to change some wheel settings, and of course we want to change it so that it's not too quick. Is one thing. Another thing is that we don't want all the wheels to turn, so we just do front first, or front steering. And what we can do is, I usually do 12% strength, and I just do the offset all the way down. And I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm losing my garage door. Something is up with the grinding. So I'll take that as a sign that I need to change up the garage door. I'm not even sure what's going on. Everything's connected in some ways. Maybe some things are connected not correctly. That was really weird. But anyways. Yeah, so we have a Rover. We have a new fun little thing to play around with. And we could put a gyro system too, if we really care to. That way we can maneuver a little bit better. But I think we have a decent little Rover to just travel around. And like I was saying, 12%, we can change the power, maybe 40%. Height offset, usually I do all the way -32. Friction, everything else we can leave alone. I think speed, we probably don't want to go too fast, so the cap at 100. And I think we're good. So basically, the offset spotlights is the front, and the offset lights here in the back, I usually kind of put in a little bit of red just for fun, and we should be good from there. And I'm still hearing a little bit of grinding, so not sure why, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna lose this whole garage door really soon. Yeah, so not sure why that's happening, but it's happening. But it's fine. So we have a little Rover, and we can climb up these little ramp here really quickly, like so. Nothing crazy, and now we can just drive as quickly as possible with its speed limit, of course, of 25 meters per second. Yep. We could probably set it up to go a little faster. I think that's what I want to do, but we also got to figure out and hope that we don't flip this thing also by stopping. So if I go forward 37 meters per second, if I hit the space button for handbrake, it doesn't flip. That's good. At this speed, at least. Yeah, that works out pretty well. So that's good. So how about reverse? If we reverse and hit the handbrake, we are gliding, and it's actually working out really well. For a simple little Rover, not too bad. And it's gonna work out okay for the front here as well in terms of ramps. So we can go out here and explore with this little bit of a Rover Scout kind of thing. Oh, okay, so it slides on the grids, but it doesn't slide on the outdoors. So that is going to be a difference maker in terms of driving this around. But I was planning to drive this thing around mostly inside the tunnel, so I can get from point A to point B a little bit quicker without having to worry about really crashing in any way. And it's going up and down the ramps and everything perfectly fine. So 37 meters per second might be a decent speed, and yeah, it's not too bad. This way I don't have to kill myself if I run into something going 100 meters per second with my jetpack. The other option I was thinking about is to put something on the wall or on the floor to kind of get a seat going on. Oh, I should have just ramped this. That would have been cool. Ooh. Okay, we definitely need a gyroscope if we're planning to do that in the future. And I think I got somewhat of a half pipe situation going on here where we could potentially just flip this thing upwards or aroundwards. Maybe even drive on the wall if I go fast enough. Put a jetpack on it, it'll work perfectly fine. Alright, so the other option I was thinking about playing around with was to put some kind of piston worm crawler type thing in the walls and have it like extend, retract, so that it can speed through the whole tunnel, and we'll probably use multiple pistons to do that. To speed through the tunnel with a seat, so it's kind of like a train system or something like that. Another option was to kind of put a wheel in the wall in one of those passages or passageways, so that we can drive across but with the wheel stuck on the wall like a train system. I don't know. I think the more rovers we make, the better it's going to be, so that we can just throw it into our garage here, which is going to be perfectly fine. Yeah, but again, I'm gonna take it as a sign that I'm gonna need to change up the garage door based on what's happening with the grinding. I think it's grinding because some of the blocks weren't put in the right spots or something like that. I don't know. That's kind of weird. So like, even if it's connected to this and this one, why would it grind it down? It's really odd, but looks like there's a bit of fixing to do here. But yeah, I think I'm gonna do maybe a more traditional door, as I said before, but we could also do something a little more unique where we make it come up and down and grind out the space above and below to do that. That might be an option. I'm not sure yet, so we'll play around and see what we're gonna do with the garage door. But we're just probably gonna fill up all this manually for now to get a nice big open space. And guess what? More drilling on its way. If you don't like the drilling, sorry. But if you do enjoy the drilling, like myself, I like the drilling. I like making the drilling time lapses because it looks pretty cool when you do it as a time lapse as well. But yeah, I look forward to more. I'm trying to make as many of these time lapses as possible, and hope to complete this project soon. I think maybe up to 20 time lapses. It's kind of my current limit, but we'll see how it goes because the drilling process does take a long time. So let's see how it goes. And of course, if you like this video, this series, hit that thumbs up, drop a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.